Russia believed it had the perfect plan: 12 submarines, 600 commandos, and precision timing to seize a key Ukrainian base in 15 minutes. But within seconds of landing, everything unraveled. Why did soldiers trained for silence and speed suddenly walk straight into a kill zone? And how did Ukrainian operators, staring at flashing dots on their radar, manage to trap an entire assault force almost instantly? The story you're about to see shows how technology turned Russia's stealth into a massive liability. Before we move on, I will like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Moscow's version of the story was simple: 12 submarines, 600 commandos, one silent strike. The claim was that Ukrainian defenses near Odessa would collapse in less than 15 minutes, that not a single missile needed to be fired because the shock of an unseen force would be enough. In their view, silence would be stronger than rockets, and speed would finish what surprise had started. It was a plan built on paper with precise timings and even tighter confidence. But the moment steel surfaced from beneath the waves, the flaw appeared. At 5:40 in the morning, the submarines slid upward through calm water. 2 minutes later, black figures in wetsuits pushed through the surf, their weapons sealed and strapped to their chests. Every step forward was supposed to be invisible, every splash muffled against the night's backdrop. But each motion they made was being recorded far above their heads. Ukraine had not lined its shoreline with more men or more shells. Instead, the country had sunk $85 million into a wall that nobody could see. Sensors buried under dunes, hidden in tree lines, and tucked beneath quiet farm roads. It wasn't concrete or barbed wire. It was vibration meters, infrared motion detectors, and microseismic probes connected in a spider web that stretched across miles of coastline. Russian planners had taken a risk to make this assault possible. The submarines had been emptied of their cruise missiles, unbolted piece by piece, so every inch of space could hold a commando squad. On paper, that meant quiet movement, no missile wakes on radar, and no launch signatures to speak of. What it meant in practice was that 600 men now carried the burden of winning alone, and the very silence they thought would mask their approach gave Ukrainian operators the clearest picture they could hope for. The hidden grid contained exactly 240 detectors, every one of them whispering data back to an underground control station, where 6 operators sat in front of glowing screens. As the first pair of fins scraped sand, the seismic spikes jumped. Simultaneously, motion sensors picked up figures crossing through reeds and tidal flats. Within seconds, those feeds remapped into a radar overlay that painted human silhouettes across a digital terrain model in real time. To the Russian commandos, it was still darkness. To the operators in Odessa, the night lit up with moving points, each tagged, numbered, and tracked. From that instant, the reaction loop moved faster than the landing party could breathe. Ukrainian staff didn't cling to the original plan of holding fixed checkpoints. They redrew their defense in 90 seconds, creating a shifting ambush rather than static guard posts. The commander overseeing the zone ordered his rifle units to pull back from the direct shoreline and instead took positions on flanks where Russian squads would have to funnel through. Artillery crews rotated their barrels toward predicted crossing points, even before the first boot touched inland soil. The commandos imagined they were slipping in as shadows, but on Ukrainian screens, the ghost force was no more than colored dots crossing a grid. Their stealth vanished the moment their fins hit sand. A simple network of detectors had blown open a plan that Moscow had packaged as foolproof. What had been designed as a flawless 15-minute coup now appeared as 600 red blips, exposed before any of them had moved more than a few yards from the beach. The trap was already forming, and with their invisibility gone, the next minutes would turn those blips into targets, the landing site into a battlefield, and silence into gunfire. If Spetsnaz elites were trained to fight in silence, why did their first steps on land explode into chaos? The answer begins with the shape of the trap waiting for them. Ukrainian commanders had built their defenses into layers designed not just to resist, but to snap inward like jaws on a target. 42 riflemen lay positioned in 2 sweeping arms, angled to form a V-shaped corridor that funneled any landing force straight into overlapping fields of fire. Behind those rifles sat 10 armored carriers, engines idling, their heavy guns trained on the beach exit routes. Above it all, drones circled in slow figure eights, relaying live video to command posts. Every soldier, every weapon, and every sensor was locked into a net that grew tighter by the second. But even the best prepared ambush can wobble at the worst moments. Just as Russian squads broke across the sand, one of the reconnaissance drones jolted out of formation and went into a spiral, smashing into an open field with a burst of sparks. At the same time, an armored carrier, lumbering into flanking position, slipped nose first into a drainage ditch, its treads clawing at the mud without moving. In that instant, 2 of the teeth in the trap were broken. A hole opened in the air picture overhead, and an entire sector temporarily lost its armored fire support. For a fleeting few minutes, the Russians stood a chance of pushing through before the net fully locked. Improvisation saved the ambush. Instead of panicking, operators rerouted 2 reserve vehicles along a farm track that cut behind the ditch, filling the exposed flank. Artillery crews dialed in new coordinates, adjusting their arcs to cover the gap left by the missing Gatling gun on that disabled carrier. The command network kept humming, drones resynced their camera feeds, and within moments, the trap closed again. By 5:48 a.m., the counterattack ignited with a sound no commando expected, rotary barrels spitting streams of metal at 6,000 rounds per minute. The sheer density of fire carved through the Russian column, shredding their front ranks into the sand within seconds. While the carriers raked beach exits, sharpshooters with thermal scopes fixed on the muzzle flashes from the Russians' return fire. Every attempt to regroup within 600 meters ended under pinpoint shots, the heat signature of a firing weapon giving away location instantly. Machine gunners suppressed entire knots of resistance, while AI-enhanced targeting systems linked to the remaining drones drew red markers over moving shapes, predicting their escape directions even before they shifted. Fire teams followed those overlays, cutting off any squad trying to slip south toward the tree line or north toward the dunes. Still, the Russians tried. Small groups broke from the shoreline, angling hard toward what looked like cover, only to find artillery shells walking toward them in staggered patterns. Wherever they turned, an encircling unit folded the path shut. Within minutes, the assault force had lost its momentum. Commandos who expected to move unseen now crawled in shallow depressions in the sand, pinned by overlapping fire from 3 sides. Carriers rolled forward to tighten the trap, their cannons scything through pockets of survivors. Drones circled slow and steady above the carnage, marking bodies and signaling movements. A digital shepherd watching the herd collapse. Russia's billion-dollar gamble came undone not through firepower, but through speed of detection. The network of sensors gave Ukraine seconds, not minutes, to respond, turning supposed invisibility into exposure. The commandos believed silence gave them cover, but in an age of real-time surveillance, silence only left them vulnerable. Drones, thermal imaging, and instant data loops stripped away every advantage stealth once carried. In modern war, the first strike no longer guarantees victory. The side that sees fastest can shape the battlefield before a shot is fired. So how many future battles will be decided by sight alone?